You ever feel like you're floating through your own life? Like you're showing up, going through the motions, saying all the right words, but somehow none of it feels real anymore. There's this quiet ache beneath the surface, not quite sadness, not exactly fear, just a sense that something is shifting and you're not sure who you are inside of it. You look around at the life you once built so confidently, the routines, the relationships, the dreams you swore would define you, and suddenly they don't quite fit. Not because they're broken, but because you are no longer the same. And that's the part no one really prepares you for. No one tells you how painful it is to outgrow the version of yourself that once kept you safe. No one explains the disorientation of shedding layers, how it can feel like being lost in a city you used to call home. You try to hold on, to name what's happening, to fix it, but this isn't a problem to solve. It's a process to surrender to. And maybe, just maybe, you're not lost at all. You're simply standing in the hallway between who you were and who you're becoming.
We're taught to fear the feeling of being lost. From a young age, we're told to have a plan, to define ourselves, to know what we want and chase it relentlessly. Clarity, after all, is celebrated. Uncertainty, treated like failure. So the moment you feel unsure, when your desires change, when your old goals no longer excite you, when you wake up and can't recognize the person in the mirror, you panic. You tell yourself something's wrong. You question everything. But what if that confusion isn't a mistake? What if the unraveling isn't evidence that you're broken, but confirmation that you're evolving? What if clarity is not the starting point, but the result of going through this very fog? See, we confuse identity with direction. We believe that knowing exactly who we are is what keeps us safe. But the truth is, most people are just clinging to old versions of themselves because they're afraid of being no one in the in-between. But the in-between is where all transformation lives. We glorify breakthroughs, but rarely talk about the breakdowns that make them possible. We want the blooming without the shedding, the becoming without the unbecoming. But real growth doesn't announce itself with certainty. It whispers through discomfort. It disrupts your patterns. And yes, sometimes it makes you feel completely lost. But maybe that lost feeling is the doorway, not to where you've been, but to who you've never dared to be before. Imagine a caterpillar spinning itself into a cocoon. It doesn't know what's happening. It only knows that the world is going dark, everything is dissolving, and the shape it once trusted is falling apart. Inside that cocoon, the caterpillar doesn't simply grow wings, it melts. It breaks down into something unrecognizable, a state of formlessness, chaos, and complete surrender. To the outside world, it may look peaceful, but inside, it's the most radical transformation of its life. That's what this season of your life might be. Not a detour, not a breakdown, but a sacred unraveling. You're not supposed to bounce back to who you were, because who you were was built for a different time, a different identity, a different layer of truth. Right now, you might feel emotionally unanchored. Relationships feel different. Dreams feel quieter. Your sense of purpose feels blurred. But maybe that's because your old self doesn't speak the language of who you're becoming. You're trying to use old maps to navigate a new land. And of course nothing makes sense, because your inner geography is being rewritten. This is what most people mistake for failure, but it's actually the shedding of an outdated version of you that can no longer hold your expansion. Think of it like this. When a snake grows, It doesn't expand its old skin. It lets the old skin crack, flake, and fall away. It becomes raw for a while, exposed, vulnerable. But in that vulnerability, it makes room for more life. The same is true for your identity. The discomfort you feel is not because you're lost. It's because you're not pretending anymore. You're no longer performing the version of yourself that made others comfortable. You're no longer shrinking to fit into roles you've outgrown. You're no longer chasing dreams that were planted in fear instead of freedom. And yes, without all that, you feel empty. But this emptiness isn't a void. It's fertile space. It's the pause between breaths, the silence between chapters. It's where the next you is being formed. You don't have to rush to define it. You don't have to prove that you're okay. You don't need to panic because it doesn't yet have a shape, a title, or a clear path. The most meaningful transformations are wordless at first. They speak in intuition, in restlessness, in an ache that tells you, I don't belong where I once did, but I don't quite know where I'm going either. That ache is not the end. It's the pulse of becoming. So if you feel lost right now, maybe it's not because you've strayed too far, but because you've come too close to your real self to pretend anymore.
What if I told you that this space you're in, this fog, this floating, this not knowing, is not a mistake to fix, but a gift to honor? You see, clarity doesn't always arrive with fireworks and declarations. Sometimes it comes quietly, through the slow return of your own voice. You're not meant to have it all figured out right now. You're meant to listen to the soft shifts in your energy, to the subtle pull away from what drains you, to the gentle magnetic tug toward what feels alive. There's nothing wrong with you for not being able to explain this version of yourself yet. You're still translating it, still learning how to live inside it. This is the season of realignment, of stepping back from the noise just long enough to hear your own rhythm again, of realizing that who you thought you had to be was always based on survival, not on truth. You're not being punished by this uncertainty. You're being invited to slow down, to listen deeper, to meet yourself without the masks. And in that meeting, you'll begin to feel it, the small sparks of recognition, the gut instinct that says yes before your mind understands why, the unexpected moments of peace, not because you have the answers, but because you stopped demanding them. You've outgrown your old coping mechanisms. You're no longer seduced by the rush to become someone impressive. You're learning to value presence over performance, stillness over speed. This isn't weakness. This is wisdom. This is the sacred intelligence of your soul rerouting your life towards something more honest. So take the pressure off. You don't need to rush into clarity. You don't need to chase certainty. You are not behind. You are being realigned with a version of you that doesn't chase validation, but lives from wholeness. The lostness is not the enemy. It's the invitation to stop performing, to stop pleasing, to stop proving, and to start listening. There's nothing wrong with being in between. You don't have to rush through this chapter or define it to make it valid. You don't need to turn your confusion into a performance of strength. You're allowed to be here, unfolding. You're allowed to not know who you are becoming yet. That knowing will come, not as a lightning bolt, but as a soft, steady return to yourself. So take a breath, right here, right now. Let this be the moment you stop calling yourself lost. Let this be the moment you stop measuring your worth by your clarity. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are not too late. You are in the process. Say it with me. I am not lost. I am becoming. Let that truth settle in your bones. Let it echo in the quiet parts of you. Because one day soon, you'll wake up and realize you're not trying to find your way back anymore. You've arrived into something deeper, something truer, something beautifully unknown, and entirely yours.